if you want to retire the baddest man in the planet, then I feel like it's in your honor as being the heavyweight champion. I feel like it's your duty to take out the interim champion. You know what I'm saying? So then that is a good way to sail off. But Tom is a real threat for Jon. He's a real legitimate threat, and he does a lot of things well. The kid is he's a base fighter. He's based in who he is as a fighter. His technique is great. His physical attributes are great as well too. And they're on par with Jon in a lot of ways when it comes down to it. I feel like when it comes to that understanding in the cage, no doubt about it, Jon Jones is hands down head and shoulders above that. But Tom has a lot of scary things that he could do as far as being able to potentially put Jon on his back, not be held down, and make Jon work a different kind of fight than he's normally working. And then you put the power to boot. If Jon gets caught with a few good punches or even one good punch from a Tom Aspinall, it could be lights out. And that's really, something that we've never seen Jon Jones. We've seen him, I hit him and I felt like I rocked him a bit, but I haven't seen him get rocked and he's just on ice and he falls down. We haven't seen that yet in Jon Jones, but Tom Aspinall appears to have the power to be able to do something like that.
He is a legend of the game, a Hall of Famer, former champion, and one guy that I go back with many, many years. One of my favorite people always to speak to, the legend himself, Rashad Evans. Rashad, how are you?
I'm blessed, Damon. How about you, my brother?
I am fantastic, man. It is always good to catch up with you. We talk, we've talked so many times over the years, and I was like, man, coming off a big pay-per-view weekend, Jon Jones fighting, I was like, how could I not talk to Rashad, get your opinion on everything? So, but obviously you're a very busy guy, man. You got a million things going on.
Yeah, I stay pretty busy, man, but never too busy for fight talk. It's what I love. It's my way of staying connected to the sport,
Yeah, and still doing analysis too. Obviously doing the ESPN gig. I saw you and your boy Kamaru, which was cool. I love seeing you and Kamaru together because for those that don't know, like you and Kamaru, back in the day when I remember meeting Kamaru coming into the Ultimate Fighter, he kept talking about his big brother. His big brother's like, who's your brother? I know obviously Muhammad's his brother. He's like, Rashad Evans, that's my big brother.
Yeah, that's my guy, man. That's my guy. He was with me for a long time.
Yeah. So let's get into it. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about, but of course, coming out of this past weekend, UFC 309, Jon Jones goes out there and gets a big win over Stipe Miocic. Of course, listen, so much of your career was connected to Jon because the training, the fight, everything like that. Can I just get your opinion? Like, what did you think of Jon's performance and kind of this discourse that's going around him? Like, I think we all agree. I've said it for years. I think Jon is the greatest of all time. But watching that fight, I was like, man, all the fears we had about Stipe coming in off 4 years away and doing 42 kind of came true in that fight, unfortunately.
It really did, but I don't want to take away from any of them because of that, but it did look like, Stipe retired a while ago as far as, mentally and just not the same sharpness as we've seen in him once before. But I think it was a great performance by Jon Jones. The hardest ball of the hit is the one that you're supposed to hit, the one you're supposed to knock out the park, and he knocked it out the park. He knocked out the park. He looked good. He looked, showed some vintage Jon Jones, and I've been, watching his last few fights and, seeing him kind of, get through the fights at light heavyweight before he went up to heavyweight, and they weren't his best performances, and it kind of seemed like it was foreshadowing and into the Jon Jones that we know, just that dynamic athlete, that creative striker that we once knew Jon Jones as. But Saturday, it felt like it was back. He was very measured in his approach. He chipped away like he normally does, but then he started to, bring out some of the creativity. He was very quick on his feet with that takedown that he caught Stipe did, caught him in transition. Very beautiful Jon Jones S-taped takedown. So it was one where, we got to see flashes of the old Jon Jones. And it didn't, as much as it went in feeling like a goodbye ceremony, like, we're saying goodbye to him, it didn't really feel like that at the end. And I was glad to hear him get on a mic and talk at the end of it and talk about, we'll get another chance to see him fight again.
Yeah, I'm curious because I've always said that Jon seems to fight to the level of his competition. When he fought Daniel Cormier. He knew, like when he fought you, he knew what. And going to heavyweight, there's a danger there. There was a danger
Yeah,
represented heavyweight that maybe he just didn't have. I don't want to knock Thiago Santos or Anthony Smith, but it just seemed like he was just kind of going through the motion
yeah,
of fights that we all kind of knew he was supposed to win. But the danger factor at heavyweight is so much different. And I think that's why, me personally, like as much as I do love Alex Pereira, the reason we all want to see the Tom Aspinall fight is because that actually presents a danger to Jon Jones that I don't
right.
know. Like, I don't know that I love Alex, but I don't know that he would represent the same level of danger as the Tom Aspinall.
You're absolutely right, man. Looking at Tom Aspinall, he has a lot of those great intangible skills that we see from Jon Jones, the great athleticism. He has great combination striking. He has ability to wrestle, but then he adds in another component that I don't think Jon has, which is that knockout power, that one hitter quitter. And I feel like that is the thing that people want to see. People want to see Jon tested. Jon's been in some great fights. We've seen him in some great barn burners with Gustafsson and then Dominic Reyes, and he's fought some great fights along the way, but we want to be able to see him have to resort to using his best weapon just because of the fact of everything else maybe getting shut down. It's crazy what we do in order to give someone, okay, you are the man, even though he's he's been the man, right? He's virtually undefeated, but we still want to see what happens when he goes against who he used to be, a guy much younger than him, a guy on the upswing, a guy who's hungry to be where he's at right now.
Yeah, I'm curious because I think Jon's legacy is cemented. I don't if he
Yeah.
retired after Saturday night, he's done everything. He did what he wanted to do. He became a heavyweight champion. He's beaten everybody, all these kind of things. But let me tell you my conspiracy theory, Rashad. He said like he keeps talking about Alex and Tom, and he's like, I don't really have interest in Tom, but if you pay me a lot of money. And my thought was, maybe this is like Jon playing the game of like, hey, if you really want me to fight Tom Aspinall, pay me a whole bunch of money. If the UFC doesn't want to pay him the money, he can say, hey, I wanted to fight him. The UFC just wouldn't pay me the money. Kind of puts the blame back on them a little bit. That was my conspiracy theory because I do a podcast with Matt Brown, and Matt brought this up to me. He's like, if he just comes out and says, give me Tom Aspinall, I want to fight Tom Aspinall, his leverage is kind of gone. Now he has some
Yep.
negotiating power to say, hey, you want me to fight this guy? Pay me a big bag of money.
Absolutely. I mean, he understands what it's about. We fight for legacy. We fight for things that are not able to be, physically tangible for a sense of pride. But at the end of the day, we know that we have to line our pockets. We know that, we're making good money right now, but it doesn't last. And you got to be able to find a way to get enough money so you can really find a way to buy yourself out of the hustle and bustle of life, which is called the matrix. And that's what he's trying to, make sure that he has FU money so he can go ahead and do that. And I don't blame him for that because he's, had a hell of a career on top of that. But there's something else in this fight to me that's given Jon Jones pause, and it's more than just the financial aspect of it, but there's a real threat with Tom. There's a reason why Jon says he doesn't like him. I've met Tom Aspinall several times, and he's one of the nicest, most approachable guys that I know in the sport. And sometimes you get some guys that are real a-holes behind the scene, but he's one of the good guys. And for him to say that he doesn't like him and to really have these feelings for him, negative feelings for him, it kind of shows to me where he mentally thinks the danger of Tom Aspinall. And I feel like that's a big reason for the pause. Not saying Jon Jones is scared because that'd be a ludicrous statement to say, but Jon Jones is an athlete who competes his best when he feels like the odds are stacked the most in his favor, right? He's not one of those guys who's gonna feel comfortable going into a fight where he's the dog, or he's because for him it's got to be the huge upswing. That's why took 3 years to get to heavyweight. He could have bulked up in 2 years and did it, but he did it in 3 years, and it really just shows how calculated he is, and he's not going to take a fight if it doesn't make sense for him on a calculation basis.
Yeah, and I love Francis Ngannou. I think Francis Ngannou is a legend, but I think when you looked at Jon and Francis, to me there was still a very clear path to victory for Jon, just because you take him down. We
Yep.
saw Stipe when he took Francis down. I know Francis is a big, strong guy, but Jon is a monster. We saw what he did to Stipe on the ground.
Yeah.
Would you consider? And I know this is a big question to ask because we could look back and say, well, this guy or that guy or this. Would you think like Tom Aspinall arguably could be the biggest threat to Jon Jones retiring undefeated almost? I know the Matt Hamill fight, but like
Yeah.
that's a scary prospect, right? Like he's really
Yeah.
close to the end and he gets to maybe walk away as the greatest of all time. But if he loses to Tom Aspinall, not saying it goes away because I think his legacy is cemented, but we all know I think Anderson Silva is one of the greats. We can't ignore the losses he had, though. It's not like he
Right.
walked away and didn't have some losses in there.
No, you're right, man. I think it's one that it, it his legacy is submitted, but at the same time, if he does lose to a Tom Aspinall, it will make people say, you know what, maybe he wasn't the greatest, maybe he wasn't the best, you know. So I can see him wanting to get out of there with that high of a fanfare, but the truth of the matter is that if you want to retire the baddest man in the planet, then I feel like it's in your honor as being the heavyweight champion. I feel like it's your duty to take out the interim champion. You know what I'm saying? So then that is a good way to sail off. But Tom is a real threat for Jon. He's a real legitimate threat, and he does a lot of things well. The kid is he's a base fighter. He's based in who he is as a fighter. His technique is great. His physical attributes are great as well too. And they're on par with Jon in a lot of ways when it comes down to it. I feel like when it comes to that understanding in the cage, no doubt about it, Jon Jones is hands down head and shoulders above that. But Tom has a lot of scary things that he could do as far as being able to potentially put Jon on his back, not be held down, and make Jon work a different kind of fight than he's normally working. And then you put the power to boot. If Jon gets caught with a few good punches or even one good punch from a Tom Aspinall, it could be lights out. And that's really, something that we've never seen Jon Jones. We've seen him, I hit him and I felt like I rocked him a bit, but I haven't seen him get rocked and he's just on ice and he falls down. We haven't seen that yet in Jon Jones, but Tom Aspinall appears to have the power to be able to do something like that.
So I'm curious. I don't want you to peer into your crystal ball too much, Rashad, but obviously, you've known Jon, you know his coaches, you know the guys
Yeah.
very well. In your heart of hearts, do you think we see him fight Tom Aspinall, or do you think that it's going to maybe be Pereira, or maybe we've seen him fight for the last time already? I think there's a world where that happens too.
I feel like if the Stipe fight was a little bit harder, I feel we would probably see him retire. But because it went the way that he did and it just went so flow and so much of his flow, I feel as if like he knows that he's the best. And he and in that spirit and that mindset, I could see him padding his bank account a little bit more before he goes. But this fight with Tom Aspinall, it will be a huge one for him because if he goes out there and he dismantles Aspinall, then there's no doubt about it. He's going to ask for the Alex Pereira fight. So that'll be two big paydays out the door that would really set him up. I mean, he's already set up for rest life, but it'll to push him further down the road and give him a chance to have that, that fuck you money that he wants. So I feel like he has to do this fight with Tom. Not has to, but I feel like it's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I hope it happens. And listen, man, being wealthy, there's nothing wrong with that. And being generationally wealthy, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And I think those two paydays would be massive. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
so, and I think at this point, I think last week kind of showed us like as big as the Pereira fight would have been. I think the Aspinall fight could be just as big, if not bigger, now because the reaction the crowd had to Aspinall, I was shocked like how pro Aspinall the crowd was when it didn't see. Because I think star power wise, Alex is a bigger star right now, but
Yeah.
man, the crowd was all over Aspinall last week.
They were, man. And I feel like, the thing is that Tom is such a likable guy. Whenever he gets in front of the camera, he lights up and you just find yourself, just drawn to him from a likability level. So I get it. And here's the reality. We've seen him do some amazing things already in the cage. Him knocking out Pavlovich and him, doing the same thing to Curtis Blades and just the way that he's just been just dispatching the competition. It's almost in that Francis Ngannou esque type of way where you just knew it was just a matter of time before he landed that one shot and it was going to be over. But then you have the ability. Then he has the ability to fight a complete MMA fight, from kicking to takedowns and to ground and pound to all the things in between. So that adds an element that Jon Jones hasn't faced in a while. And that power aspect is something that Jon Jones, I don't think he's ever faced with that kind of power on the other end. So uh, everyone sees it, and everyone knows if this happens, it's going to be the biggest fight.
Yeah, I love it. Speaking of fighting, Rashad, so I remember we talked after your comeback in Eagle FC, and after that fight, you kind of told me, like, I'm just going to kind of see where the future holds. I'm not, making any decisions right now. You went out and got a big win. At that point, you were just kind of like, we'll see what happens. And then I remember a few months ago, I may have even reached out, I can't remember, but I heard this rumor about you boxing Rampage, and I was like, where did this come from? Like, Rampage was all about it. And I know it's been a few months, but can I ask Rashad? Because, I mean, again, you're a busy guy. You got businesses you're running. You've got, of course, you're still doing the analyst thing with the UFC, which you're doing an amazing job there. Where is fighting for you right now? Because when I heard the Rampage thing, it kind of came out of left field, but I was like, that does kind of sound fun.
Yeah. You'll be interested to hear that I've jumped into training camp and I'm going to do a boxing match with Rampage. We're looking to do it potentially at the end of February, and it's most likely going to be here in Florida. But yeah, we're going to do a boxing match, man. You know, I thought about it, man, and I was like, I'm 45 years old right now, and I could just be done with it all and just enjoy this phase of my life that I am right now. But then I will always wonder, like, man, if I just would have had that one boxing match just for fun, you know what I'm saying? Just to have it, just to try it out. And boxing is something that I'm a huge fan of, and you know, there's nothing better than getting another chance to fight Rampage. Rampage is in pretty good shape right now. He was getting ready for Shannon the Cannon, so he's in pretty good shape. So I want to get a chance to do it again with him.
I love it. I love it. And I know, listen, I've talked to a lot of the guys who have gone over and started doing bare knuckle, like Ben Rothwell, and he's like doing training for bare knuckle is essentially boxing, and he's like doing that kind of training is so much less rigorous on your body than doing MMA. And of course, you being a wrestler, your entire life and then going into MMA, you know how hard that is. So I imagine, like, not that you're going to take it easy training for boxing, but from everybody I've heard, like, it's not as hard on your body to get ready for boxing versus trying to do a full MMA fight where you're just putting your body through hell every single day.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I can say that is the biggest difference of me just doing this training right now with the boxing training. It feels so much better. Like I'm enjoying going into training, and my body is recovering faster. I'm not having all the aches and pains. I'm not waking up and, can't step on my foot because somehow I twisted my ankle or got my foot stepped on in training, didn't even realize it, with all the wrestling and grappling that goes into getting ready for a fight. So I've been really enjoying the way that my body feels as it's starting to scale up. And yeah, it's a different ball game. It almost feels like it feels good. It feels good coming from the MMA background and now doing a boxing camp. It feels like, yeah, I should have been doing boxing camps.
Can I ask, like, what is your relationship with Rampage these days? Because, like, we all remember the animosity back in the day, one of the greatest rivalries at that point in the sport. But you get older, you kind of let that go. You're not trying to just beef with, but that's Rampage. Like, Rampage wants to be. So, like, what is your relationship with Rampage these days?
We got a pretty decent relationship, we've got a level of respect for each other, but we still have fun and we still be clowning each other. You know what I'm saying? I still got to deal with him, trying to clown me, or I'll send him a message and trying to clown him. But we're fiercely competitive with each other. We're fiercely competitive with each other, and that's a good thing, man. That's a good thing. So after we did the movie, Boss Level, it changed our relationship because we finally got a chance to have a conversation and, seeing the kind of person that he truly was and working with him so close on that for a few months. was a game changer as far as for our relationship. But with this fight, it's fun because there's not that anger, animosity, but at the same time, it's still so competitive. It's still so competitive. Like if he see me looking a certain kind of way, he'd be like, "Hey, okay, I see you getting ready. You're looking pretty good." Then I'll see him hitting the mitts or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay, he getting ready. So it's still that the friendly competition, and that, as I'm sure as a fight gets closer, all the shit talking gonna come back. So it's gonna be fun.
I mean, you listen. I mean, you already have a one up on him. You beat him in MMA.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you want to give him an inch and let him win in boxing, right? Like
No, no way.
you want that guy to retire being 0-2 to Rashad Evans. Come on now.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's been my main focus because he was just he was saying to me, he's like, you know what, I think that you that you think this is gonna be easy, huh? Just because you beat me before. He said, Rashad, remember something though. This is boxing. This is you know what happened. You know what happened in the third round, and they keep on bringing the third round up. But hey, okay, we're gonna see.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's funny because everyone knows you from your grappling and wrestling, but you have some of the most iconic knockouts in the sport. I can't remember where it was, what was going on, what the highlight was, but I just rewatched the highlight with Chuck Liddell, one of my favorite knockouts, because I was there that night and I remember being in that Atlanta arena. It was like one of the most hushed silences ever when like everyone's just like,
Yeah.
oh my God. So it's not like you don't have power in your hands, not like you didn't develop your hands. So yeah, you come from wrestling, but by the time you were a champion, you were a pure mixed martial artist. Like you could strike with people, you could wrestle with people, you could do it all. So I like Rampage saying that, but
Yeah.
you got the striking to go along with it.
Yeah, I know. He gonna find out though. He gonna find out that I got them boxing hands too.
Now, what can I ask? Like where you're training, like where? Because I know obviously you worked a lot down in Florida. I know
Yeah.
you work with guys like Tyrone Spong, who's a legend. Who are you working with for this one?
Yeah, I'm still down here in South Florida. I got the Florida crew out here. I'm at Kill Cliff right now, getting some work in. I'm still in the early phase of the training, so I haven't really started getting with the coach I'm going to train with for the fight. I'm just kind of more or less just getting in shape before I can fully commit to that. But I'm most likely going to work with Daya Davis or Fareed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great team down there. There's a lot of great guys
Yeah,
down in Florida. I mean, this is fun, right? Like this is kind of you're kind of that point now where you can do fun fights, right? Like you don't have
yeah.
you know you don't have to chase a title or I got to fight every 6 months or 3 months or whatever the timeline is. Like this is fun, right? Like this is a fun fight.
It is fun. When I first started fighting, it was all about fun. And somewhere in the middle where expectations and success came in, it became not fun. It became a job, and it became something that I needed to do. But now it's good to be in a position where I'm enjoying it again, and I'm coming from the place of love. I'm loving to do it. I'm loving to put the time in. I'm loving every single aspect and every single phase along the way because I understand that all these different steps is adding to what I need in order for me to be successful in fight night. So I'm enjoying the process. And here's another thing. I understand how just fragile this time is. Like I'm 45 years old and I can't even believe how fast that shit went. It went so fast that I can't wrap my mind around it. But the gratitude that I have for the experiences that led me to where I've been and the journey I've been on is amazing. But I understand that these moments are moments in time that I'm going to enjoy for the rest of my life. So I gotta savor it. So right now I'm savoring this piece of candy like it's my last.
Yeah, and I remember when we talked after the Eagle FC fight, you were very honest. You said, maybe I'll do another one, maybe I won't, but I'm not going to make any big like declarations. I'm just going to kind of see what happens. Is that kind
Yeah,
of the same attitude here? Because listen, there's opportunity out there. Like this is really fun
yeah,
because it's Rampage, but we've seen now like where the world is at right now, like the influencer thing and other opportunities out. Like are you going to this one like, yeah, you're fighting Rampage and this is a really fun boxing match, but is it just going to be kind of like the last one, like wait and see? Everything goes well. Maybe there is one more. Maybe there is another
yeah,
opportunity. I mean, maybe you go out there and knock out Logan Paul. Who knows?
yeah. No, no, you're right, man. I'm on a wait and see type of thing. I want to see how I feel, how my body feel, most importantly. And that's the main thing is that I feel great right now, and I want to continue to feel great. So I do this fight and I still feel great, and I feel like maybe I can do another one as far as physically speaking, but even just psychologically, do I want to put myself through it? Am I hungry enough to do what needs to be done to get ready for a fight? Because fighting is on two parts. One, you got to physically get your body ready, but then the other part is the mental part. I got to mentally get into savage mode. I, I gotta. It's not so easy after you become so civilized, right? After I become so civilized, it's not easy to jump back into savage mode. Uh, I gotta, I gotta build that grit back up in me, and it takes some time. It takes energy. So I got to see where I'm at after this fight's over. And if that fire is quenched and I don't have nothing left in the basement, then opportunities can come. I'm not going to put myself out there, man. I'm not trying to go out there and get blasted by Jake Paul or nothing.
But I mean, it's probably the easiest thing in the world to get up to fight a guy like Rampage, right? Like
select a command.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very easy for you to wake up in the morning and go to the gym.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an easy one to get up for, and it's one that I'm enjoying to do. I'm enjoying understanding the fact that yeah, you know, there's some bragging rights at stake, and I'm not trying to be knocked out and put on Instagram or social media looking any kind of way. So I like I'm not I'm not playing around. Like I'm in the gym, I'm lifting, I'm gonna look the part. I'm not gonna go out there half stepping at all. I'm not gonna embarrass myself, and that's why I keep on telling myself. I'm like, I'm not gonna go out there and embarrass myself. I want to go out there and I want to look and feel amazing when I'm out there doing it.
So February, hopefully in Florida, you and
Yeah.
Rampage. I mean, come on! Like, how is this not going to be a blast? And like you said, it's fun. And you saw, I'm sure you saw. I know you saw on Instagram because I read some of the Instagram. Like when the rumors first started happening, like last summer, people got excited. People were super into it. So I mean, people are going to be into this fight.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. I feel like people will get into it. I feel like a lot of people would want to see us box, and it's going to be a good fight, man. I'm gonna go out there, and I know he's gonna go out there and put on a good fight. So I feel like with the boxing, it's going to be new for both of us. But I I've been training for man ever since I stopped doing MMA. I've been really focusing on my boxing, and I've been really getting some rounds in with some pretty challenging people. So I feel like I'm I'm ready. I'm ready to step up to this level. But feeling like you're ready and actually being ready to step up to the level are two different things. So I want to go out there and prove to myself that I can go and do what I've been training to do.
Absolutely. Real quick before I let you go, Rashad, obviously I mentioned you doing the analyst thing now, getting ready for the boxing match, but you've also been doing some stuff business-wise outside the octagon, which I'd love to see. I know we talked about that the last time. Seems like things are going well.
Yeah, things are going really well with the mushroom company Umbo. We've got everything going in the right direction as far as our messaging is concerned, and the products that we want to push. And we're getting a lot of great feedback from our clients and people who really enjoy using our product. We have this really good sleep formula that does amazing for people that has sleep issues. And even if you have a hard workout, you take it and you just rest and relax like nobody's business. And that's the biggest part of recovery that gets overshadowed is the rest and recovery, because you get patted on the back for doing the hard work, but you don't get patted on the back for doing nothing. And it's the doing nothing part that allows the body to recoup so you can do what you need to do and do it better. So the sleep formula that we have with Umbo, the Micro Rest, has been absolutely amazing. It's been a hottest seller. And if you have not tried it out, go to getumbo.com and check it out for yourself.
And it seems like the world is kind of coming around, like in terms of like using like that. Like I love it because there's so like I'm one of those guys, like I refuse to take, because I remember I got in a car accident when I was a teenager, and they gave me like Percocet or Vicodin, and I was like, I see why people get addicted to this stuff. Like after like 2 days, I was like, I don't like doing it, so I much prefer the natural. And I'm glad people are kind of coming around to like realizing that psychedelics, things like that, can actually be very helpful. It's not the 70s anymore. Like we can learn from this. So I love that it seems like we are actually growing and learning and realizing how beneficial this kind of stuff could be.
I love it too, man. I feel mushrooms are one of those things that once people get on the mushroom journey, they start understanding what all the hype's about, because the gains are real, and you get to keep those gains that you have, from cognitively speaking, but even neurologically speaking, which I found the biggest benefit. And it's really, turned the corner, and they're really noticeable effects that you get to keep once you stop taking it, or you haven't been on it as much as you were before. It really becomes increments levels of growth that ends up mattering in the end, and you actually can feel. So the mushroom journey is one that a lot of people are starting to understand, and they're starting to realize that, these pharmaceuticals and the things that we ingest in our body, they may put a band-aid over it, but are they healing the body? And when you do the mushrooms, these adaptogens, they help you heal the body because they bring your body in homeostasis. And our body heals itself naturally, but it has to be in balance. And once the body's in balance, it can do what it naturally does, which is heal itself.
I love it. I love what you're doing out there. I remember talking to you a couple of years ago, like right when you were first launching it. You were so excited. And I keep seeing it on Instagram. I keep seeing it on the internet. It seems like it's doing really well. So that's awesome. Rashad, February, man, I can't wait to see you back in there, dude. Listen. I'm not supposed to be biased, but I'm biased. You've been my guy since I think the first time we talked was like right before the Ultimate Fighter 2. So
Yeah.
No offense, Rampage. I gotta go for Rashad here. So.
I appreciate the support, David. We gotta keep this going, man. Have me back anytime. I'll jump on. Let's do it. We'll break down some fights. I got you, bro.
Absolutely. Well, have a great training camp, man. Let's catch up. Like I said, best of luck with the training camp, man. Have a good holiday. And, man, can't wait for February. Let's see you go out there and punch Rampage in the face again.
I'll talk to you soon, man. Be blessed.